Think. Act. And prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, back, Rule Symposium. Appreciate you all tuning in. Today I'm here with Michael Konnert, Vizsla Silver. What's going on in the silver realm?
Well, it's looking pretty exciting to me right now. It's the metal price is good. It's a great price for silver, about $37 an ounce, and it shows signs to me of increasing. And this is at a time where we've also seen a lot of M&A in the silver space as well. So we've seen Silvercrest, Gatos, and now most recently Meg Silver trade hands in Mexico. All of those projects and companies were acquired at very, very nice premiums, close to 2 times their net asset value. So that indicates that there's a lot of interest in the silver market, and certainly the silver market in Mexico, and public companies with projects in Mexico like Vizsla Silvers. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to the rest of the year and beyond.
Yeah. So the silver price recently increased. $37 hasn't been that price in a long time. I've heard some different projections. Obviously you get the folks that are like $100 silver or whatever, but what does supply and demand kind of look like for silver right now, and going future projected out?
Well, and that's what really draws my interest to silver, is that there is a systemic undersupply of silver. We just simply put don't produce enough silver in this world to meet demand. And we did for some time. We actually did have a balanced supply and demand equation there in silver. But in recent years, what's happened is solar panels, AI computing, defense, technological aspects of the demand sector of silver have increased drastically. And now, we just use more silver than we can produce. This is 5 years that this has been happening. About several 100 million ounces of silver every year is undersupplied. That means we consume several 100 million ounces of silver more than we produce, and that means that we're using up all of the above ground supplies, basically all the stuff that isn't mined. Coins that are getting redeemed, or bars that people have, or just stores of silver. Because of this, I expect the price to run very, very aggressively, and we've seen this with uranium, with copper, and other metals. So it's for me, it's a perfect setup, and it's at a time where Vizsla Silver now is entering basically the most, I'd say, the highest potential for re-rating in the company's history.
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, that's amazing. So, obviously there's macro forces with silver. And what do you think, like, when you're thinking about like the supply demand and the industrial demand and everything, that's always been like a concern of mine, and it's kind of alleviating, a lot more, especially seeing like the silver price performance, because I was just like, why is gold moving and silver still stuck, and then now silver's moving. But like, what does it look like, that balance between like the industry demand versus like, retail investors and investment demand?
Well, it's about 50-50 these days. So, slowly growing in favor of industrial, which I think is interesting because historically silver had been much more of a precious metal with some, industrial applications, but now it really does have that industrial application for about 50% of its demand. And then, the rest is investment and jewelry, those types of, end destinations for the metal. And we actually did see, I think, Russia recently in the last couple of years start to actually buy silver as a reserve currency for the central bank. So we are seeing a little bit more of that. That's happening again for the first time, I think, since the 80s. It's interesting. Silver really can be a precious metal, and it sometimes acts very much like gold, precious metal, when in price behavior. But unfortunately, sometimes it also acts as an industrial metal, which can be a downside in some cases. But if we look at what's happening with copper right now, you might see some tailwinds from these base metal prices on silver as well. So it's there's nothing really else there's nothing else out there really like silver. It's quite an incredible metal.
Yeah. So how does it work with the industrial demand? Are they contracting? Because almost like the uranium market, you got the spot price where, anybody can go in and kind of buy. And then you got the term price, where utility companies are coming in and contracting at a specific price. And so I kind of wonder about obviously as I buy silver and such. And so I'm buying close to that spot price with the premium. But are industries, companies, are they negotiating at a specific price that may be, or do they pay the premiums on over spot too? What does that look like?
Well, they generally buy off the exchange or from refineries and things like that, in terms of the industrial buyer, and mostly that would be done in Asia, and they can use that for photovoltaics and solar panels primarily. It's interesting. It's we haven't seen, and this is something we talk about a lot, but I can't think of a company like you'd almost think like SpaceX or Tesla would come and say, well, we need incredible amounts of silver. Why don't we come to a mine and get an offtake agreement for a set price over a period of time. We haven't seen that yet. I suspect that's probably going to be something that does happen in the future. But now it's more of a traditional market for silver. Got
it. Okay, so thinking about just Vizsla Silver, what's new happening there? What new developments? I know I saw the share price had a significant pop recently with the silver price, and what value are you all delivering there?
Well, it's this last year has been incredible since we would have last seen each other at the last Rural Conference. We would have announced our PEA. From that PEA now, which PEA stands for Preliminary Economic Assessment, which is the first economic assessment that you do on a project. From that, we're now working towards our definitive feasibility study, which is basically a bankable document that we're going to build the project with. It has detailed engineering. It's kind of that final project document before we move into production. So, it's been transformational this year, and we just raised $100 million in an equity financing. This will be the last equity financing that we have to do. We have $200 million in the bank right now, and our capex, our cost to build the mine, is $224 million. So we're very close to being fully funded. The last piece of capital that'll come in is basically project finance, and that would most likely take the form of a loan, something that we've negotiated and worked on very aggressively over the last 12 months. So later this year, we should announce that we're fully financed. We also have a test mine. I was just on the project last week in Mexico, and went underground. First time I went properly underground. There were 150 meters now subsurface into the mountain. At a test mine that's 5.5 meters by 5.5 meters. It's a really big and beautiful underground mine. So we're doing that. We're testing our contractors. We're testing our team. We're de-risking the project through that. And then finally, we're in the permitting process. Once we receive that permit, it'll be off to the races, and we're going to build this thing as fast as we can. And the crazy part is, we'll produce 20 million ounces of silver equivalent. So about 12 million ounces of actual silver, the rest being gold, but 20 million ounces of silver equivalent at a cost of less than $8 an ounce, $7.40 an ounce in terms of an AISC, or all-in sustaining cost. And that means about $30 a margin. So if you think about 20 million times 30, that's $600 million in free cash flow. Our market cap's about $1 billion right now. So there's a bit of I would say, an incredible undervalued moment right now in Vizsla. We're getting closer and closer to immense cash flow, but the market isn't really reflecting it yet. And of course, by putting the feasibility study out, by being fully funded, by getting permitted, all these things that we're doing in the coming months, that's going to get us much closer to our true intrinsic value.
Yeah, yeah. And what's kind of your assessment of where the company's trading, compared to the NAV?
Yeah, we're trading at basically 0.67 times NAV. Analyst consensus NAV is about $2 billion. Today, we trade at 0.67. I've seen in the past, it's actually quite typical for silver companies to trade at a premium to net asset value. And I think that's exactly where we're headed. So I think there's very clearly a double in terms of our NAV multiple coming. But I think there's much more beyond that. We're making that, we'll actually make that NAV increase by new discoveries, by improved mine plan and the feasibility study and all these various things. So it's only getting better.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And so what's kind of your thoughts on like the silver to gold ratio right now?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I just to kind of go back to what I talked about earlier about silver acting a little bit more as an industrial metal, with more of silver's applications being industrial. Sometimes I wonder how relevant, some of those historic ratios are. Does it really go back to 40 to 1 or 50 to 1 in the sense that now silver is playing a more important role in the global industry? But we've come off of that 100 to 1, which is great. That was crazy. That everyone just sitting there looking, scratching their heads like, how is silver so undervalued right now? I think we're seeing the early phases of that, more normalization of that, probably closer to that 60 to 1, 70 to 1 ratio. But we've still got a long way to go, and I believe it's going to be with silver price improving relative to gold versus gold, selling off. I suspect that gold is going to stay very, very strong for the time being as well.
Yeah, definitely. And do you see any? Obviously, gold staying strong. There's a lot of, you have central bank buying, and there's a lot of macroeconomic like tailwinds and such. And so, how do you see those impacting silver?
Yeah, I think it just keeps. It keeps that engine going. It's going to be great for silver. I can't really see too much that's going to derail the the momentum that's building in silver right now. The big one is of course solar panels and just understanding what they're going to have. But solar panels are kind of an annual. Something that you have to continue to replace, and it's not like you install it once and that's that. So, I think as the world builds more solar, it's just going to continue to grow, and it's a great source of electricity. So I suspect that that combined with central bank buying that we've seen in the East, silver could continue to go. And of course, we've also seen a company called Tether, which is a crypto company. They seem to be very, very interested in precious metals. They bought a controlling position in a royalty company. They're at this conference, and it's really quite interesting to see some. I think the crypto and that world is now starting to kind of align with precious metals, and it's really kind of the same thing. It's some people refer to as end of the world currencies, right? It's the real hard assets.
Yeah, for sure. So being here at the Real Symposium, what are some things that obviously you were here last year. What are some things that you're seeing new? Are you seeing a lot more interest this year? Or, there's more people here, more people watching live. Are y'all seeing like interest pick up or sentiment pick up around the company and the commodity?
Yeah, it's been our best one yet, and there's definitely more people. There's people that are happier than they were last year because their share prices are higher, which is always good. Yeah. It's funny. There's one more royalty company, of course, out there, which is Vizsla Royalties, which I'm the executive chairman of. We spun Vizsla Royalties out of Vizsla Silver, but we do see more royalties, more interest in royalties as well, and of course just a higher level of interest in silver. So, it's definitely trending the right way for us.
That's good. Well, where can people find more about Vizsla Silver, ticker, all of that, Vizsla Royalty?
So we're traded in New York and Toronto, so the NYSE and the TSX under the same ticker, VZLA. And you can find us at vizslasilvercorp.ca. And I'm available to be contacted through the website there. So please reach out if you have any questions.
All right, cool. I'll link to the description below. Thank you for coming on, Michael.
Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate it.